We're here at THSCA Coaching School with the head coach of the Houston Christian Huskies, Braxton Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, appreciate you having me here today. It's a great day. How cool is this, right? I've been gone for 2 years out of the state of Texas, Corey, and you forget how cool this is. I mean, in Texas high school football, how important it is to the communities, to the fabric of all the towns, and you get to see it on display here. It's special.
You know, you were at Campbell the last 2 years. You were at Howard Payne before that. You get credit, and I think you realize that when you read, you get credit for building that for starting the build, right? And then what Jason Bachtel, you're now offensive coordinator, was able to do to take it up to the next level.
Yeah.
Now his brother, Kevin, will come in. You just see that going. That started under you. You're trying to start something similar now. Do you see comparisons to that?
Well, you know, first off, you know, Jason always tells me all the time he just took what I couldn't do and made it better, you know, and he's 100% right in that, right? But, you know, that was such a neat opportunity, right? Got to do it with one of my very best friends, Hunter Sims, who's the athletic director. You and I have talked about this before. It's about the people you get to be around.
It is.
You know, and then Jason came in and as an alumni came and built that program. And, you know, that was so cool to be able to see that program. And it's still a program I root for to this day.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like part of you's still there in that program, in that spot. But really trying to take the same model that we had there as far as how to do things, how we treat people, how we instill our values into our young men, and try to do that now at HCU and at the Division I level.
And you're doing it you're getting some things done around HCU that needed to be done right now. You're getting some new turf. There's some plans in the works for different things. There needs to be a vision, and there needs to be a passion. The question is, how long is the vision that the university's sticking out for this stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't that the great question? I mean, if we did, we'd be selling a book, Corey, and we wouldn't be sitting here right now, right?
Right.
But, you know, we've gotten a lot done. You know, we've invested our money in our people, because that's the number one thing. People drive any organization. It's the people that you have, right? And so since we've been there, we added new turf. We've added different GPS units that we can track our kids' progress. We've added a director of player personnel. We're adding a full-time equipment personnel. We're adding a director of player development that can invest in our kids on and off the football field.
Yeah.
And we're pouring all those resources into our kids. And so all those things are going. And at the end of the day, we believe that if we invest in the people, people is your best product. You come to HCU, you come around our football program. The best thing about HCU right now is our young men that we have on campus.
Well, and without them, you're not going to get the facilities later, right? So,
that's right.
So you're missing a few parts, maybe.
That's right.
But to get to you don't get facilities until you get those relationships built. You get that stuff solid.
Yep.
That's what's going to drive everything. And I have noticed the attitude around the program and around the entire athletics department has turned a lot more positive since you came aboard, and I can't think that's just an accident.
Well, you know, we know that football plays a piece in that, and we want to do our part. And we think football plays a part in the athletic department, but we also think it plays a part in the whole university.
Yeah.
And Dr. Sloan, our president, is a rock star, and he is a football guy. He was at 8 of 15 practices this fall and the spring. That's sitting up there in the bleachers right there.
That doesn't happen everywhere.
No, not every president does that.
No.
And so we know that we play a part, in what we're trying to do, Corey, is we're trying to be able to tell all the people how many great things that HCU has to be able to offer on the football field, in the classroom. You get a private school education in the city of Houston that you can be able to be in the 4th largest city in the United States. Kids want jobs.
Yeah.
Well, where else are you going to have more manufacturers, more Fortune 500 companies than right here in Houston, Texas?
And this is, when you hear the thing, we hear national news from jobs coming from California. That is happening, and most of that's coming to Houston.
That's right.
Not to Dallas-Fort Worth in a lot of ways.
That's right. And these high school coaches know this, because they instill these same things in their young men. And that's why it's so great recruiting the state of Texas again, is those characteristics that those high school coaches do, we try to carry over. Best compliment I had all semester, I had a kid from North Shore High School, which is one of the premier programs in the state of Texas.
Yes.
He came to me and said, man, how's the program going? What do you think? How are you feeling? And he told me this quote. He goes, man, it feels like high school, coach. And I was like, man, like, that's the best compliment you can have.
Yeah.
Because these men that are right here that are training young men, they do it for the right reasons. They care about kids, and that character matters.
Because when you're in high school, you always talk about that bond you develop. That's what brings people to Texas high school football.
Yes.
We're getting into some philosophical stuff, and I love it here because this is if you want to just talking football. This is what we do, right? So you're getting into that deeper portion of what brings us back, right?
That's right.
So when you played, you had the brotherhood. You remember that. You keep that. Then as you get older, you miss that, and so that's why you keep going back to that high school.
Yep.
You try to develop that at a college as well, and it sounds like your guys are on that, started on that path.
Yeah, and that's what we've done. We've brought coaches that believe the same way, that believe that it's about developing the young man on the football field, off the football field as well. And, these coaches have poured into these kids. These kids have poured into the program, and you're starting to see some excitement. So right now everybody's pretty eager. And we're eagerly anticipating the fall because, at the end of the day, here's the great thing about athletics is you get to measure where you're at.
Yes.
Right? On Saturday, September 2nd, we're going to find out where we're at right there at that day. And our guys are excited about that in our program.
Well, and that's awesome. And it is coming quick. You start in 2 weeks. I believe practice starts in about 2 weeks for you guys. You were at Campbell, and you were known as you were recruiting coordinator, and I believe they had top-ranked recruiting classes each of those years, which that's no coincidence, right?
Wow.
Did a lot of that also come from your connections into Texas high school football?
Well, I think it does because it shows you how to treat people the right way. At the end of the day, moms and dads, when you sit down in a home, they want to know one question: are you going to take care of my young man?
Yeah. Yep.
That trumps everything, Corey. You can talk about facilities. You can talk about playing time. You can talk about academics. At the end of the day, a young man is that family's most prized possession. I got 4 kids. You can take everything away from me, right, but don't take my kids away in that spot.
Oh, yeah.
And so the values that I was taught as a Texas high school football player, and then when I coached in Texas high school football at Waco High, and then was able to play under guys like Pete Fredenberg who believe in those things.
Yeah.
It just all carries over. So I believe it does, right, because your values are the same. And you got to sit across from a mom and dad and said, we're going to take care of your young man. We're going to make sure he gets a degree. And at the end of the day, I don't care if you're in California, Virginia, Florida, Texas, wherever. That's what mom and dads want to know. Are you going to take care of my young man?
You've got the key, right? And I think you learned it from Coach Fredenberg, a coach you mentioned there and there. We had an interview with him that we'll have on and we'll have up, and it was a great interview. And it's the same thing. Like Coach Fred was about relationships,
100%.
And that's what you. I don't know if you had it before, maybe you did, but when you got to Mary Hardin Baylor, you learned about the relation and the importance of those solid relationships from one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, and I feel very fortunate. My high school head football coach was my dad. And so I got to see that modeled from my parents as a family in that spot. Then got to go play for Coach Fredenberg. Yeah. And so I got to double down on those pieces. And, those are things Coach Fredenberg taught me when I played there and coached there for him. We still do those things today at HCU. Yeah. And those are still core principles that we live in. Because at the end of the day, Corey, it doesn't matter where you're at, what level you're at, doesn't matter. Treating people right still matters. I
say that all the time. It
matters, man.
Look, treat people right. If every judgment we make, whether a coach, person, politician, whoever, if it's to treat people right, then you're making the right decision.
That's it. It'll never come back void. No. It may not work how you see it right there, but it's never going to come back void.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to teach young men that are 18 to 23 years old, Corey, that the world says, look out for you. Look out for you. Look at NIL. See how much money you can get here. See how much you can get this. Make sure your stats look good. Make sure you sell your T-shirt. Yeah. And we're trying to get them to unify and come together in a time where football. And I tell you this, Corey, is these people in this room right here in this convention center, these are the people that are making it happen and trying to change guys' thought process in that spot.
These are the ones. Coach, thanks so much for coming on. It's great having you. We'll be catching up again soon.
Come see us. Go Huskies.
Thank you.